Hello, it's Lenny. I want to do a quick video response to Benta over at the Norse Witch, hey, on Fail Tales. I believe that they were spot on in talking about, like speaking to the fact that we rarely talk about what we suck at in witchcraft, okay, or in magic. And it was actually incredibly good for me to get down to what I consider that I'm actually bad at, you know? But there's another response out there by Joanna, the Polish folk witch, that went into a little bit of the psychology of it, and it was really interesting as well. I'll leave both of those below for you, okay? I want to say, I guess, before I list anything out, that I do believe that belief systems play a key role in our magical practices. All right. So say if I were to say, as an example, that I don't believe in whatever, something, okay? And then so many books talk about working with it, then I could say I'm bad at that. But if I don't believe in that, then it's not a paradigm that I should be referencing, in my opinion. So you can't be intrinsically bad at something that you don't believe in, because it's not your belief system. So I do want to kind of plug that there, but that's my opinion on that. You know, you're going to be bad at anything you don't believe in, because you're not going to do it. You're not going to put forth any kind of effort. So, but anyway. Now, I've always been good at, like, visualization, imagination, and things like that. But I want to talk a little bit about a placebo, all right? Because when you talk about visualization and imagination and gnosis of any kind, personal gnosis of any kind, you kind of can get into the rut of thinking that it's all in your head, right? Now, I've talked about this before in another video about foundational witchcraft, which I'll leave below for you if you're interested, about like the fundamentals that are present in like that run underground of all my witchcraft. So that, like, imagination is one of them, because if it's part of my foundation work, then then I can lay bricks on that and nothing will happen, you know? So I put it in my foundation work to stop the doubts from coming up that it could just be placebo. There are many doctrines of philosophy that go into this, but for me, largely, I think that talking about placebo and or possibly even superstitions, I think that that can play a role too in what we could be bad at. Because you can be bad at self-doubt, you can be bad at thinking that it's all in your head, especially if you're good at like the imaginative worlds, right? And then even if you're not, especially if it's something that you can't do, like if you can't visualize, can't, imagine, have pictures in your head. If that's, I forget the name, it starts with an A. If you have that, then you're not bad at it. It's just something that you don't have. So, there's that. Now, I do realize this about myself, but I'm superstitious. So, like, and not in any kind of compulsory way, but like if my nose itches, I'm like, ooh, somebody's thinking about me. Or if I stub my toe, or if a mirror breaks, right? Like walking over, like I'm okay walking through cracks in concrete, but if I'm looking at it, like looking down at my feet, which I rarely do, anyone rarely really does this, but if I'm like happen to be looking down at my feet and I see a crack, I step over it. But any other day, if I'm like completely unconscious about where I'm walking, I don't care how many cracks across, right? Or if a cat crosses like some kind of path, right? Like if we're driving and a cat passes the road, I'm like, I get like a shiver, right? These are just weird superstitions that myself and my family have had my whole life. I guess that I've implemented some of them into my witchcraft as a folk thing, but folksy things me and my family do. But on the other side of it, it's like, can I be bad at that if I have those superstitions, right? Because some people think that having superstitions, the placebo effect, the opposite of the placebo effect. Like if you harbor so much if you're harboring so much attention onto something that you're like forcing it to become placebo, it can have the alternative effect. So that's something interesting to think about as well in terms of like what you might be good at. And if you're inclined to superstitions like me, again, not in any kind of compulsory way, but if you're so inclined for that, then it can kind of be hard to do magical workings, because if in the middle of your magical working your nose itches, you're like, shit, are they like, is this person that's thinking about me that I don't know, like somehow in the spell now? So anyway, that's just like a funny thing I wanted to start this with. But, okay. I'm going to start out hard though. With number 2, well, I guess this is number 2. I'm going to start out really hard. I consider myself to suck at Malefica. Now, I do believe that if you can't curse, you can't cure nothing. Okay? I do believe that. I'm not saying that I can't, right? But one of my very first magical workings was a hex. I didn't know it was a hex. I just blasted some bitch with some badass energy and some bad stuff happened. You know what I'm saying? And so, but it's like, but ever since then, I've been super mindful of that, right? So, and I know that a couple of other content creators on here have talked about this too, about like, you need to go through all your options before you be casting some Malefica about. Doing some like real world things to get rid of, you know, banish and bind and hex and jinx and curse and all that. Exhaust all your options first, right? I believe in that too. But there's just something about me and my magical practice that has me over analyzing. Right now, furthermore, I utilize the sins, well, and virtues, but mostly the sins in my practice. And when I do that, I use this kind of be careful what you wish for mindset, where it's like if a spell or a working would seem like it would go into one of the sins, then I'm already anxious and I'm like, okay, nope, I got to reassess. Okay. And I tend to overanalyze the sins with a wish. Right? And if I'm asking for something like manifesting, you know, please and thank youing in terms of a magical working, then I almost feel like I suck at getting past that. Like, I'm like, well, be careful what you wish for, you know, like I worst case scenario that stuff. And it's like, it can be hard to perform a working with all that stuff in your brain. So I feel like I'm bad at I could say just bad at over analyzing. But I feel like I'm bad at Malefica. I feel like even after I have exhausted all my options and stuff still, like bad stuff still rattling about from something else that's impacting me or impacting my family, I think so severely about the entire situation. Like if I cast this, and this could potentially happen. I don't want this to happen. I don't, you know, I don't wish like this, and this on this. It's like, I would have to write out a contract with my Malefica in order to do it. So I'm bad at it. I suck at it. One thing too that I've learned about myself over over a decade of working with magic and being a witch is I'm spontaneous. I don't like to time stuff out. One thing that I've noticed about myself is I don't like long-term stuff. Now that's really beneficial in a lot of witches' lives, is you can put something and then kind of continue it, like do it once a month on the full moon, just duck, 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 and just like, you know, like on the new moon for the next 6 months, I'm going to light this candle for blank. Right? And it's more of the like bigger picture, long-term stuff. But I tend to work in the macro and the micro all in one working. So I don't tend to like the long-term stuff. Right? Well, it could have something to do with my patience level, but I tend to just want it to be like wham, bam, thank you, ma'am. Okay? Now, one thing too is I'm a lot like Alice. I've said this before on the channel. I don't think that I'm the same person each time I do a working. Or the situation is not the same. Even if it looks the same, it's not the same. Because you are different, the working is different, maybe you've thrown another correspondence in there at it, and so that changes things around, you know? And it's hard for me because, like I said before, I overanalyze, but then I also tend to want to change something up because of the fact that I'm different. Like, I've always wanted, and like even in my grimoires, and especially like my magical thought books, like my Book of Mirrors or whatever you want to call them, I tend to I've always wanted a, what would you call it? A magical working canon, right? Like, this candle spell, this specific candle spell is for all the spells I would do on blank, you know? This ritual is for blank. But if I did a ritual, and it's, say it's a consecration ritual, okay? The tools are different. The incense I might want to use that day is going to be different. It's like, I try to do bare bone work, but because I do bare bone work, and because I utilize this kind of Alice in Wonderland kind of a mentality with it, I tend to be more like the Cheshire Cat and the Mad Hatter, you know? Like, new cup, new cup, new cup, okay? So my canons always kind of fall flat because I'll flip to a page and I'm like, yeah, I really want to utilize this. I'll still end up changing something. Oh, and it's kind of frustrating because then I can't, I feel like even if I had like the bare bones magical workings canon in a book, like in my grimoire, to say, okay, this is the bare bones, this is what I'll do. It's kind of frustrating because it's like not already laid out. I still have to do all the work all over again, even with the bare bones laid out. And it goes on spontaneity too, and timing. You know, I tend to go to magic in these kinds of spontaneous ways. On the other side of it, okay, literally on the other side of the practice here, I mean on the other side of the coin here, I don't always go to my practice. I've kind of said this in some like magic where are you type videos I'll leave below for you too, where some stuff happens in life and life literally is moving at a pace in space-time, and I let it, like that. I just let it go by. And I go through the motions, I go through the emotions, I go through the motions, I go through the emotions, I go through the physicality of it, and I'm like, why didn't I do any freaking magic for blank X, Y, and Z? Why didn't I go to my practice? You know? Why didn't I utilize what's already in my personage? So that's frustrating too. Is that I'm very spontaneous. You could even say I don't have a like practice. I just do what I want to do. But then, if I don't want to do it, or if I don't even think about it, I just let that pass by. The magic just kind of it floods, right? And it's seeping out of my pores, the magic, and it pulls on the floor, right? And I just walk through that crap. I don't have no Wellingtons on, no galoshes, no nothing. I just cast that shit and play in the puddles and don't even do nothing with it. Okay. Not good with others. Recently, we have this house next to us that is like kind of a rental, right? So every year it seems like we have a new family in that house, okay, off to the side of us. And so this summer, a new family moved in. And for some reason, I had this like weird visualization. I was like, what if they're witches? You know, because that's always exciting to live near witches. Witches, I mean, extremely rare where I live, okay? But I was thinking about that. I was like, oh, what if they're witches? Oh. And then I was like, okay. And then I had this really like weird daydream where one of the persons had come over to the house, like knocked on my door and was like, listen, I need an extra person for this magical working. Right? I don't know what I was thinking. I was just sitting outside on my back deck watching them do stuff with, like, in there, like, getting boxes out of their car. And I'm like, if they walk over here and ask me, oh my God, you know, like, we need to stay in this house for this long and all that, and I would really like to cement the magic of the area by incorporating the neighbors, right? I would literally look at them like they had 15 heads. I'd be like, I don't know who you're talking to. You're not talking to me. And I would literally just be like a hand in the face moment. And then I got to thinking, why would I do that? And it's because I'm not good with other people, you know? Now, one of the major reasons why I'm not, like, in a coven or a group or a tradition that would, like, get together regularly, even if they didn't call themselves a coven, is because I feel like I'm so susceptible to energetic markers that when I'm in a group and say we're invoking something, okay, and we're chanting and we're under the light of the full moon and it's like so much freaking energy, okay, I can barely handle like a concert in those regards, you know? These are strangers that aren't talking to me. These people we would be like literally compacting this energy in a ritualized way, and I would be sitting there on the floor. I'd go like this, like a cartoon. And so I don't know. I think that I had that daydream because I feel like Spirit was trying to tell me, maybe you should try this out and just see if you'd pass out. You never know. But it was like funny that I had that. So I don't know. I think I suck at being in groups. I think I would suck at it. I wanted to say that I'm bad at the 3 C's. Cleaning, cleansing, and consecrating. I respect the aspect of blank slating something. And consecrating it, making it magical, right? But let's say I find something. A rock, a hagstone, an arrowhead out there when I'm like hiking or whatever, right? And I love it so much. I'm like, oh my God, this is beautiful. I just feel its power, okay? And I bring it into my house and I set it somewhere intentionally. I'm like, you know what? I want to see this with these crystals, or I want to see this with this picture. And I set it somewhere intentionally. I kind of feel like it's done its thing. I don't have to do anything extra with it. So I don't always do the 3 C's on tools, on like things that I would want to use in my craft. Then again, I don't really use tools. It's like my notebooks, right? There's like the most powerful tool I own and have and utilize all the time are my notebooks, right? But I don't sit around consecrating my pencils, right? Maybe I should, but I don't. So I kind of suck at that. Now, I'm good at generalized cleaning, all right? So if you've got something like my bones, right? I did a clean the bones video a while back where I talk about the primevalness of witchcraft, and I literally had to clean those bones, you know? It had like grass stains and leftover dried up taffy like sinew on it. So I had to clean them, right? That's okay. And then I went like for the bones example, I did all that. I cleaned it. And I was like, okay, if I cleanse it, then I'm getting rid, and I was like thinking to myself during this cleaning thing, I was like, I'll just get rid of all the stuff that makes it what it is. So sometimes I skip cleansing and just go straight to consecration. Like, I want you to stay what you are, and I'm now your mine, and I'm going to consecrate you as you are mine, and put you in I made it like a wind dancer, like where it's like it's like a wind chime, but if it doesn't clink, I call it wind dancers. They just kind of dance in the wind out of some of the smaller bones. And it sits on the front porch out there, or hangs. And so I skipped it. So I suck at keeping with the 3 C's. So, I guess I'll end because I don't think I have anything else that I wanted to talk about. Not that I wrote anything, I didn't write anything else down. I would like to say that my practice is more inclination than capability. My capability in witchcraft stems from my inclination to continue to go to it. Plus, I consider my witchcraft as an identity. So, it's already in me. Doesn't make for a good practice, you know, timely practice. I do want to plug here, both Benta and Joanna's talked about astrology, you know, that could be another thing, because I got to thinking, like, when I'm utilizing all of the modalities that I would in my craft, I'm not very good at astrology and planetary because I tend to think in more universal terms. So that can sometimes hinder my practice as well. Anyway, okay. I hope more people do this, because let's get rid of the taboo that we have to be perfect and that we have to do everything that the books tell us to do, and we're not, you know, rebel witching that shit like Kellyanne would say. You know, let's make this more known that, first of all, we all suck at some shit, okay? And second of all, we can be our own witches. And that's a beautiful thing. There's so much personality that goes into the craft that it would be hard not to suck at shit. Even in life, okay? So, thank you, Benta. Alright? Like I said, I'll leave their video below and Joanna's video. So, because those are the only ones I've seen thus far. But I'll be on the lookout for more. Alright? I hope everyone's having a magical day. Much love.